Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited to be on here with you today. Schlegs, on this wonderful, in Central Ohio, we needed it, but a rainy and wet Tuesday. So Buckeyes, how's that going for you? How has your Tuesday been? I know you got some good sleep this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm doing great. We had a frothy practice yesterday at the middle school, doing things at the Armory. Excited about where the Buckeyes are. Got to talk to you and Jeff this morning. Kind of made fun of him a little bit, which is always fun. I was sleeping in my bed. I couldn't wake up because, I was restful, man. I had the magnesium spray. I had the retainers for the sleep apnea. I got juicy a little bit today, a little Juicy J style in the weight room because it's Schleg Day. Did some lower body stuff, feeling kind of frothy and explosive. So that was nice. And now I'm just talking to you and all the wonderful people out there. Let's go. Bobby Carpenter Show.
Man. Excited for that. Excited for you. Excited for the show today. We got our guy Bill Bender going to be joining us here.
Richard Magnum Bender.
Yeah, in the third hour or second, third segment. He's the best. You know it. I know it. Covers it all. A lot of crazy things happened last week in college football. So he'll be there to kind of break down all of that with us. So excited to talk to him about all of it, Schlegs. Question. I know that you're finishing up the 8th grade season. They play the intra-town rivalry with Jones and Hastings. Are Jay's boys, do they play at Hastings or are they at the high school?
No, they play at Hastings, man. They're there.
Okay, I thought so. I thought they were in 8th grade. So they've got one more week left. Your buddy Jay Hootie Hoo and his twins, then they'll be finished up. It's crazy how fast football season goes. And I say it every single year. Buckeyes are 5-0. Middle school is wrapping up. High school in Ohio, I believe, is on to week 8 now. Is when you start crossing the Rubicon, Schlegs, this threshold, if you will, of the middle of October, I'm like, man, as soon as you hit Halloween, that thing's running downhill, and it's running downhill in a hurry because you hit that November 1st, Penn State. That's what everybody had circled up. Then all of a sudden, November is for contenders, Schlegs.
Yes, it is.
And you get the last couple games, and it is going to be a thick and fast fight all the way to the end of the season. And so these guys now, you're already to Bloody Tuesday. This week will be in the bag before you know it, and the season will be halfway done. Regular season, that is. Then obviously, hopefully, a conference championship game, and then you start looking ahead towards the playoff and how that looks. So I know that it seems like that's far out right now, but Ohio State, they've got Illinois, Wisconsin, bye week, and then Penn State, and that'll be here before you know it. And then after the Penn State game, as we just preview this, 4 weeks from today, Schlegs, they will be releasing the first CFP playoff rankings. So that will be happening Tuesday evening, whatever that is, the third, maybe, I want to say. It's crazy because last year it always times up on election day. I'm like, why do they do it on the Tuesday? Especially you're doing it on every 4th year. It's going to be a presidential election. It's going to be a madhouse. So this year, not quite obviously as intense with no presidential election going on. But our guy Mark D'Antonio is going to be on it. I was talking to my brother about it with him and just all of the resources and things. And you can pull up, Schlegs, they can go back in like the archives of it and be like, hey, let's look at this defense versus, teams above 500 in this year.
Yeah.
And let's look at them in this down and distance. So let's look at them here. How are they in the red zone? And it's wild. So my brother was hanging out with his father-in-law doing some of that and he's like, they have all the information, all the games. They got everything. I'm like, well, they're deciding the future and the fate of these players and the coaches. And these are tens of million dollar decisions. When you start talking about the university, you start talking about the coaches, you start talking about the players and the awards and things that come along with that. These are life-changing decisions. So people are like, oh, I'm an AP voter. What does it matter? Well, that helps craft the narrative of leading into this. And I know that the committee is supposed to be completely unbiased, but Schlegs, they see the numbers, they see the teams, they know what it looks like. And so it's crazy because I don't think people understand the gravity of which they do. I'm a Heisman voter. And so I take extreme caution and care when I'm voting for the Heisman Trophy, knowing what it does to people into the future, and knowing
Yeah.
how a Heisman Trophy will change one of those person's lives forever. Being second, that's okay. Being a Heisman Trophy winner, that is a lifetime opportunity for earning potential, puts you in a very tight fraternity and everything else. We played with a guy, Troy Smith, that had that, and knowing that no matter what's going on in his life, like good or bad, he's always been a Heisman Trophy winner, and he
That's
always
right.
had an opportunity. And speaking of opportunities, I wanted to bring this up because
Yep.
I saw his dad talking about this, and you could see how proud he was. And Rick Neuheisel, Schlegs, he was a walk-on, I think, at UCLA. I think earned a scholarship, started and won a Rose Bowl. He was like their third quarterback, came in kind of like a JT Barrett situation, started and won a Rose Bowl. I believe he won one as a coach, I think, as well, but coached at his alma mater at UCLA. And I wanted to start with this because UCLA obviously had a huge victory over Penn State. And it was Sleepy Town USA.
This is his son, Jerry. Yes,
this is his son, Jerry. He's got 3 boys. One of them's working to try to play, professional golf and Corn Ferry Tour and all the qualifiers and all that. But his son, Jerry, has worked at UCLA for a while. He was out there when Chip was out there and has worked his way up, from a GA, quarterback coach. Well, you have coaching turnover. Well, you guys get to call plays. And Jerry got to call plays, and they have a juxtaposition. 11 years prior, he led the Bruins over a ranked victory against Texas. In his first game as OC for UCLA, took the last placed offense in Division I. The worst, probably the worst, maybe since Lincoln. They were not good.
I just love that. It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, I would say this.
Talking about the badness. Probably wanted to fall off the edge, but hey, Gavin Newsom, your call. Your UCLA is bad. We'll make him better, Jerry, and make him great. And he did, just like I thought he would. You knew it. But he took the last placed offense in D1 and beats number 7 Penn State, gets carried off the field 11 years apart.
Yeah.
Awesome to see, man. This is what football is all about. This is what sports is all about, getting to do it at his alma mater, where his dad went to school. Gosh, man, such a great story.
I mean, there was a lot to that game, Bob. Honestly, like what they did with Nico, like they're like, hey, we have to get you involved in the running game. UCLA rushed the ball literally, figuratively. I don't know what it's called, but it's just real. Whatever real is, 280 yards against Penn State. I mean, they owned the time of possession almost 40 minutes to 20. It was like 39-17 to 20-43. And we talked about that. Like, you don't want to get beat by a team twice. And Penn State got beat by Oregon twice. And you go on the road and it's a long trip. There are no excuses. They did not play very well in the first half. They decided to ramp it up a little bit in the second half. But what did he do? Like, Jerry said, all right, we got this guy. He can run. Nico didn't like blow the doors off the Coliseum with 166 yards through the air, but he rushed for 128 yards and 3 touchdowns. So they got him involved in all facets. And Penn State had no answer. And when you beat a Penn State team and you put up 42 points, that is bumpy. And I mean, hey, and the best was Bob was like, he's been at OC for like 3 days.
Yeah, just like, did you hear him talking? He goes, I'm a coach. Normally I have my microphone up because I'm talking to players. He goes, I'm pressing the wrong button. Like half of the calls getting into your quarterback. I mean, you've never done it. That's stuff that you do in walkthrough for like your mock game before the season, but he had never done it before.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, kudos to him. Like, he didn't get riled, right? It's like, and where else do you got to go? You're the worst, like you're the worst. Why not just be better? And I'll tell you this. I mean, we discussed about the coaching changes, and I'll say this in terms of coaching changes, how hard are they playing for that coach when he goes into it? I think in college football, it's difficult. And these are the things the ADs have to evaluate, because now you have kids going into the portal early. What does it do to recruiting classes? You're already going to have that. Why not wait? Certain instances. However, we talk about Billy Napier last year, even in their season last year, the dude's team defensively played like their face-off. They beat Texas this week. Defense played really, really good. Offense, they didn't turn the ball over 5 times like they did versus, LSU or the week before. I think they had like 2 or 3 turnovers, and they end up beating Texas. Did not look well, but their defense played really well. Their teams are still playing for the head coach. And so sometimes when that's not happening, you make the change, and they made the change. And they go and they're down in Northwestern. They fight back. They lose 17-14 in Northwestern, probably their only win. You think, okay, next week, can you be better? And you go hang 42 points on Penn State and a former Ohio State defensive coordinator. Like that was impressive. And you still don't have all the schematics, the nuances that go into calling a game dialed in. But guess what? Be better next week. But it was just how he was talking about the youthfulness of them. Obviously, the guys resonate, but he knows. He's like, hey, I got a quarterback. I got to use him. And so I'm going to use him in everything that he could possibly do to help us get a win. And they did that. And they rushed for 280 yards, 52 carries, 280. Bumpy.
Hey.
Now you got Michigan State this week. Like, what are you going to do now, right? Like, that's the thing. That's the consistency that we want to see.
No worse feeling in football than being in a game and not being able to stop the run. Paul Pasqualoni told me that. My linebacker coach in Dallas, longtime Syracuse head coach, he even told me no worse feeling in life. I don't know if that's true or not. A lot of bad things can happen in the world. Just like we said, no worse feeling in life than being in a game and not being able to stop the run. A little taste of that that happened. One of the things that we're going to get a little taste of here coming up is Bill Bender. Our guy's going to be joining us from the Sporting News, so be sure to stay here and stay locked in. He's going to give us all the happenings and kind of where this crazy college football season is headed. Look at some of the games from before, what we learned from the weekend, maybe even a little look ahead to what's going on this week. So we'll get all that and all the thoughts on Bill coming up. But first, FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers, you can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Build parlays, bet the player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel, they've got you covered. The NFL season, it's here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 older and present in Ohio or 21 older and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bet, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Bill Bender on deck and ready to go.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lakespur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, now pleased to welcome in our guy from the Sporting News, Bill Bender. Give him a follow on X at BillBender92. Does a great job writing everything. It's been a crazy weekend, Bill, and it's hard to believe. I mean, there's teams that have played 6 college football games this year. Many of them have played 5. And it always kind of feels like you get to this middle of November or October, you start to learn a lot about teams. And then the rest of the season just seems like a sprint to December 1st. Kind of what were your big takeaways, the thoughts of everything you saw here coming out of this last weekend?
Well, the afternoon window and just the absurdity of it when you had Vanderbilt, Alabama, which we knew was going to be a pretty good game, and then Arch Manning and Texas floundering on the road in the swamp. And then on top of it, so I was zeroed in on those 2 games until about halftime. When you look at a UCLA score and you say, what in the world is going on? How is Penn State down 20 points? And then it just continued to spiral out of control. The entire second half of that game was nonsense because UCLA gave them multiple opportunities to not only tie, but win the game. And Penn State goes out there. And I do have a question for you guys is, you can pin some of this on the travel, some of it. Maybe the first quarter, a letdown from the Oregon game. But don't NFL teams do this all the time? Don't the Bengals go out to Los Angeles and the Packers go out to Las Vegas? And I think there has to be a concern from Big Ten coaches. It's not an excuse, but they have to really explore strategies to go out on the West Coast and win football games.
It is hard, Bill. And I will tell you this, as you get older, like that's why road doesn't matter quite as much in the NFL. Like you're just a little bit more adept at kind of handling your emotions. You're a little more experienced with it, but it's a current reality in college football with these mega conferences, and that's what the money's for. So everybody's got to find a way to deal with it. But you would have thought that's come sometime middle of the first quarter, second quarter, that they would have kind of snapped out of that and been able to turn it around. And that's probably my biggest disappointment. I took one of my locks on XM before the game as Penn State covering 23.5 because that's what James Franklin does. He covers big numbers against bad teams. And UCLA, well, I thought they were maybe the worst team in FBS.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and I had this back and forth in many text threads over the weekend. I can say it on here. I can't fathom Ohio State losing that game. A game like that, and you can make the case that this is the worst loss in college football in 40 years from the simple stat that an 0-4 team had not beat a top 10 team since 1985 when UTEP beat BYU. Somewhere a group of UTEP players are celebrating that right now. But it was just unfathomable. And I know Ohio State in the past has had those kind of just out of nowhere losses. We always talk about Purdue and then the year they went to Iowa, but they weren't against a 24-point underdog that had not won a game, that had a new coordinator, new coach, a half-empty stadium. I mean, when Ohio State goes and plays UCLA for the first time in the Rose Bowl, it's going to be a home-on-the-road game. It was completely bizarre that happened.
Hey, I'm going to ask you this, Bill, because I want to stay on the Ohio State thing before we get to more college football. Looking at that game, obviously Ryan Day has the all-time record, fastest to 75. He has a better winning percentage now than Newt Rockne. And we're talking about, like Bob asked, you asked, how do we get kids up? And I think it goes back to his presser about the sense of urgency, the coaches like coaching and explaining the why that when you do this, like it matters. Yeah, it didn't matter in the Minnesota game, but good on good in a time that one particular play will get you beat. And so it's not like they're always on the edge, but they're always working to improve, and there's always that sense of urgency and expectation. I think that's the differentiator when you look team to team and how you get kids engaged to be able to go on the road and explain the why we're going out early on Thursday. I think that has a lot to do with success, especially when you go and you play a good Washington team at Washington. To the game versus Minnesota. Things that stood I know one thing in particular that really stands out to me about that game, but what is 1, 2, even 3? I'll give you 3 because your middle name is Magnum. What are those things for you that you took away from that game?
Carnell Tate.
Okay.
You kind of forget about him sometimes. He obviously has a monster game. And as he said, I had Channel 6 on afterward. I heard his post-game interview, and he said, yeah, he knows that Jeremiah Smith and him are the best 1-2 in college football. And there are some good ones. Miami's got 2 good receivers in Daniels and Corley, Alabama with Bernard and Williams, but it's hard to stack up against Jeremiah and Carnell Tate and the other weapons they have in the passing game. And then the other big one, and can count as 2, is exactly what you just said about Ryan Day and the halftime interview, where if you were just ducking in and you hadn't seen the score, you'd be like, man, they're down by 14. What's going on? But then something he said in the press conference afterward that stuck out about Bo Jackson, reaching out a ball, and we can't do that. And that tells me that we've reached maybe like the Saban portion of his tenure, where, Nick Saban was always finding something, because he would always talk about that internal scoreboard. Like the scoreboard against Minnesota doesn't matter. They're going to win. Now they're playing against something higher, and it's themselves and getting ready to be the best. How many times did you hear Nick Saban say best version of ourselves as they head into the portion of the Big Ten schedule that starts this week? And as you guys know, I mean, Illinois could theoretically be a tricky road game.
Well, it's been tricky in the past, Champaign. And that's one of the places, Bill, in these big conferences. I don't think Ohio State's played there in like 8 years. Ryan Day has never been there. So, yeah, this is his 8th season combined as an assistant and a head coach. So it's been, I think, since 2017 that they've been out there. It got canceled during COVID. And so it's kind of a unique place. It'll be 11 a.m. local start. So it's a little bit weird. It's funny you mentioned, the Saban portion of the career. Once you've won and now, hey, I just expect to win. Like, we're going to go win more and do something that nobody's ever done in Ohio State other than Woody Hayes. We talked a little bit about, James Franklin and Penn State. This was supposed to be the year that they kicked the door in, all these guys returning outside of Carter and Warren, the quarterback, the running backs, defense, Jim Knowles. And then, you lose to Oregon in double overtime, not a crime, but then you can't really pivot and get back and against the bad UCLA team. Are we kind of in the similar spot with Texas this year, where a lot of people are talking about Texas was, potential national champion, them and Penn State would be playing each other. And then you get Billy Napier and they go in there and, it's an 8-point game, but it felt like Florida really controlled that game for the vast majority of it. And this is a Texas team that just seems like they've been kind of wondering now, where the loss to Ohio State was whatever, but the rest of them, they haven't looked good. And now all of a sudden you play a team that is literally battling for their coach's life, and they come out. I understand it's in the swamp, but I mean, they thoroughly kind of dominated that game.
So much focus on the Arch Manning factor. And yeah, I'll say it. I mean, we were wrong. We had him on preseason All-American list and top 25 QB rankings and all those kind of things because we were basing it. I was basing it in part on last name, sure, but also the supporting cast around him. It's not like Texas doesn't have good receivers. Ryan Wingo's very good. It's not like they don't have running backs. Some of it's the offensive line. And I remember leaving Ohio Stadium on August 30th thinking, no, they just played a really good defense. But Arch Manning's completion percentage against Ohio State and Florida is about the same. So now what do you do? Because you're playing Oklahoma, and there are rumors going around on social media today that John Mateer may try to play in that game. You might be staring at a third loss. You've got to go to Georgia. You might be staring at a fourth loss. And who knows with Texas A&M. So they would, in some ways, Bobby, I think there's a good chance that if you ask me who's going to win more games at the end of the year, Penn State or Texas, I would still take Penn State.
Ooh,
that's bumpy.
Yeah, well, because Penn State still has Ohio State, and then after that, Indiana back-to-back. And so, like, I started looking at this. There's a good chance Penn State loses 4. There's a decent chance that Texas could be in that same boat. And for teams that were expected to compete for a national championship, Bill, not even being in the playoff, I think that's going to be a tough one for them to kind of figure out. And I guess, like you said, there's talent at both of those schools. And I don't know if it's both of them kind of have a similar quarterback problem where, like, you're kind of married to this guy and maybe you're not as good as you thought at that position. So you've got to do it a little bit differently. And I know that their losses were very, very different this week, but it just – I'm trying to figure out because, like you said, I know that the players there are good. Like, that's what talking to some of the guys at Ohio State, they couldn't understand it. Like, Penn State's got a really good team. Like, their running backs are legit. How is it possible that you can't move the ball and get something done?
Well, and then, you've got to give Jerry Neuheisel credit here.
Yeah.
Because Nico Iamaleava looked like the 5-star quarterback we thought he was. Yep. Throwing the football, making good decisions in the running game. And anybody that's watched the clips, and I know Rick, of Rick Neuheisel, incredible reaction after the game. I loved it, and I love seeing that. So we'll see where that goes. But some of it is, there's a lot of talk about all these quarterbacks being disappointed, and part of it for me is, well, they are who they are. Yeah. Cade Klubnik, his completion percentage is about the same. There's nothing crazy different about Drew Aller's numbers. There's nothing crazy different about – I think Garrett Nussmeier might be hurt. So I think that's part of the problem there. And then Arch Manning, right now, he is who he is. I mean, we need Dennis Green in here to scream that, don't we? But and then some of the quarterbacks who are playing well are simply being accurate. Julian Sayin has an 80% completion percentage. I'm 80% sure I couldn't go outside and throw 8 out of 10 passes to Grant from like 20 yards and hit him every time. So he would catch, it would be my fault too. So incredible accuracy by Julian Sayin, by Bo Prabula at Missouri, by Fernando Mendoza. And that's a difference maker at that position.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll have more with Bill Bender, the sporting news, coming up next. Attention parents and athletes, protect what matters most with XSport mouthguards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. XSport mouthguards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. XSport mouthguards, they feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including patented use of carbon fiber that they 3D right to your grill. You print that bad boy off, so more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby to save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. There was another big victory in the state of Ohio this weekend. I want to get Bill Bender's thoughts on that coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lakespur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
Okay.
All right, welcome back in the Bobby Carpenter Show. My man Anthony Schlegel with us. Bill Bender of the Sporting News doing a great job. And Bill, one of the games that was kind of under the radar, they let them back in it a little bit like Miami let Florida State back in. We'll get to that one just in a second here. But the Cincinnati Bearcats over Iowa State down at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati. Are we sleeping on Cincinnati as a real Big 12 contender?
We would be less if they would have finished off Nebraska in week 1. And Sorsby is outstanding. You know, the big plays are there. When I saw that line last week and saw them favored, I was like, it kind of makes sense. But for them to go out there and pull out that victory, I think with Sorsby, I heard the comparison from, I was on Ken Brew's show a couple weeks ago, and he brought up Baker Mayfield. And there's a little bit of that in his game. The confidence, the ability to throw the ball down the field, he can run. And all of a sudden, they are now in that Big 12 mix where I think one separator, Texas Tech is pretty good right now. Their defense is good. Baron Morton's playing well. They have a running game, and they're kind of putting it on some Big 12 teams. So they're interesting. BYU's interesting. But Cincinnati certainly put their name in that mix by beating an Iowa State team that had some injuries in the secondary, but all the same, you would have thought they would have won that game.
Wait, I'm going to ask you this because this is a side nugget. Like, we watched this game and it was about Jackson Smith and Jigba and Emeka Ibuka, but this is where I'm going. You guys were talking about, Arch Manning, and we're in the group chat over here. We're just talking about how coaching matters. And Knowles, is it our players or is it the D coordinator? I think in college it's really the coaching. But those are 2 guys, Baker Mayfield in Cleveland and Sam Darnold, journeyman, right, all over the place. And they just absolutely lit it up. Coaching is developing. And I just think, like, the guys that we're getting at Ohio State, they are being developed at a high level. And I just say that to you, Bill, when you go out and you look at this, how much is that moving forward with these quarterbacks, right? Like how much, as you look, is it the coaching of the staffs for the consistency of the programs that we're seeing win year in and year out?
Well, I think certain places you trust the development, and Ohio State's one right now. I mean, you've produced several first-round quarterbacks in a row. Oregon and Dan Lanning starting to like that. You know, when you go from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel, who played well Sunday, I mean, for first career start on the road in London, and now you have Dante Moore doing what he's doing, you start to trust that. I think Alabama's another place. And, I was asked this earlier this morning, in all these years I've covered college football for Sporting News, there's 4 guys where it kind of stood out a little bit different. And it was Trevor Lawrence, who threw 2 absolute dimes last night for Clemson, how they were throwing the football. Joe Burrow at LSU. I mean, and some of that was they were unfair. Lamar was for different reasons. I mean, he could throw it, but then he'd also be 20 yards down the field. And then you're looking at a guy like Baker Mayfield, who I was at that game when at the shoe when he was leading Oklahoma up and down the field. And then you get into guys like CJ Stroud and Justin Fields. So when somebody says somebody's a generational talent, I'm looking at the guys starting on Sunday, and one, did they elevate their program? Two, how do they throw the football? I can do all the Pro Football Focus stats. That only get you so far. When you see it from the press box, you're like, that guy's throwing it different. That guy sees the field different, and those are the guys playing on Sunday. So all those quarterbacks we talked about earlier, guys, like, do you picture Cade Klubnik being a franchise quarterback or Drew Aller? I'm not sure I do. Now, when you get into Julian Sayin and CJ Carr and even Dylan Raiola, I think that's a different discussion.
Is it Miami and Georgia Tech now in the ACC? Like, did that kind of this weekend, did that kind of show you everything you need to see? And by the way, Georgia Tech does not play Florida State or Miami, so they've got a pretty solid path, I think, to get there and still undefeated, I might add.
What a ACC championship game that would be, because what I associate Miami and Georgia Tech with was a couple years ago when Miami could have kneeled the game out, and then Georgia Tech recovers a fumble. Haynes King throws a touchdown, and that's kind of where the Georgia Tech program story begins. And Miami is very good. They are built to beat you 35-14. And they did let Florida State in a little bit, but with that running game and Carson Beck, here was a stat I dug up this morning I thought was pretty cool. There are 3 quarterbacks in the Power 4 that are 90% on passes of 10 yards or less. So, yeah, you could say it's bubble screens, but short passing, it's Julian Sayin, Bo Prabula, and Carson Beck. So those aren't those, like, if you miss a pass under 10 yards, like, to me, that's like a wasted play. Those guys aren't wasting throws. And I think it's been phenomenal. And right now, if you were picking a championship game, I don't know how you wouldn't pick Miami, Ohio State.
Well, Ryan always says, make your layups. And, like, that's it. I mean, there's a big difference in being 2nd and 10 and 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 3. I mean, that's it. So you make those yards, you put yourself in advantageous spots to continue to move forward. Notre Dame looks like they've got this defense cleaned up a little bit with Chris Ash. A little rough to begin with. They still battling, Bill? Like, they're still on life support to make the playoff?
I think 10-win Notre Dame team probably gets in. And I'm hashing out at Sporting News this week. I kind of am projecting, and this is just opening yourself up to all kinds of criticism, the rest of the SEC and Big Ten schedule. And I think we're going to end up with 5 10-win teams in the SEC, which would what hurt Notre Dame would be Texas A&M doing that, because Texas A&M beat them head-to-head. And then when you get into the Big Ten, I think we're going to end up with 3 10-win teams. I think it's going to be Ohio State, Oregon. They seem like they're on a collision course for a possible 12-0 versus 12-0. Indiana, I think, is good for 10, even if they lose to Penn State and Oregon. And then you get into a kind of a hidden game in the Big Ten race, and a very important game, Michigan-USC. Because if Michigan loses that game, it's going to be hard for them to get to 10 wins. If USC loses that game, they still play Oregon and Notre Dame. And those are the 2 teams I'm kind of eyeing that, can they get to 10 wins? Or can Illinois do it even if they lose to Ohio State, which they are 16-point underdogs in that game, obviously?
Well, I mean, Brett Bielema is a really good coach. He's going to have them ready. It's going to be a physical game. We know that. It's just about executing. Let's go to this one. We got about 4 minutes left. IU, Oregon. I mean, IU's playing really well. Number 7 team in the country, going out to Oregon, making the trip out there. Oregon's coming off a big win versus Penn State, a physical game up front. What do you expect to see out of this game?
I think it might be more defensive than we were led to believe. You would assume shootout with the quarterbacks and the way they're playing, but Oregon's pretty good up front. Barry Alexander, Mateo Uwangalele. And then Indiana gets a ton of tackles for loss. They're disruptive on that side of the ball. So I think you're looking at kind of like a 30-24 type game. And for Indiana, the perception game is important here. Okay. I don't think they're going to win, but I've said that a lot. But what kind of loss is it? Is it 30-20? Because if it is, that doesn't hurt them that bad. Is it 48-10? And, one of those Autzen Stadium specials that Dan Lanning's good for, then we have to have a little bit of a different discussion. But I do think it's going to be a competitive game. It is very healthy for the Big Ten that this is kind of the marquee game of the week too, in my opinion, because it shows that your conference is something more than Ohio State and Michigan, even though that's going to be the huge game at the end of the season. And especially with Penn State and that embarrassment last weekend and them looking at it like a team, to me, like Penn State 10-2 still might not get in, because their non-conference schedule's terrible, and they lost to UCLA.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a bad loss. The UCLA loss is going to hang around them. Oregon's fine. You could have lost to Ohio State, hell, even Indiana. But I think they may, Bill, lose all three of the remainder ones, or two of the remaining ones there, and probably be an 8-4 team. Which, if you're talking about getting 4 teams in the Big Ten, or maybe 3, whatever that number is, and Penn State's not in that discussion, that to me is it's a little concerning. I think for a team that was loaded up with seniors getting ready to ultimately return and see what they could get going.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just the race to 10. And here's something with Illinois that I'm watching this weekend is, they could theoretically lose and still get to 10. And we've been talking about these quarterbacks all week. Luke Allmeier's not bad.
No.
Look at his numbers. He's pretty good in that intermediate range. He's pretty good under pressure. He probably hasn't faced pressure like this. I didn't think the Indiana loss was on him. It just ballooned out of control on the defensive side of the ball. And anytime you just said it in the last segment, and it's probably one of the worst things in the world when you can't stop the run, especially when you give up 300 yards against the run, which they did that night. So, he's not a bad quarterback though. And I'm not just talking about this level. I think Luke Altmaier is a guy that could stick as like a day 2 quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, we got like 1 minute. Hey, let's hit up Alabama, Missouri. Big one. Alabama suffered Florida State loss beginning of the season. Seems to have turned it around. Ty Simpson's been playing really, really well. What are you thinking about this game, Bill?
Well, I think last week proved that Alabama still has the largest target on their back in the SEC. Everybody wants to beat them, and Vandy couldn't do it. And this is arguably Missouri's biggest game since they joined the SEC. They're at home. They've got Ahmad Hardy. He's one of the best running backs. Pribula's playing well. Alabama's coming off a big win. Fun game for Mizzou, and we'll find out if they can actually go out and do it. This is one of those games that could swing the SEC race in the many directions it can go, because I absolutely believe you have to win 10 wins to 10 games to win that conference, or to get in the playoff out of that conference.
Well, makes a lot of sense. Bill, we appreciate your time, sir. Looks like another robust weekend. We're excited to catch up with you again next week. Got a little rain, got a little cold, so be sure to bundle up and stay warm.
Hey, I will, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Talk to you next week.
See you, Richard.
All right. Well, it's raining and it's cold. Now it's time, folks. Backer, BCKR.com, premium fan gear for you. We're going to make the best fan gear around. Well, they did. It looks great. It feels good. It has all the features that you're looking for. It's better than anything else out there, and I've got some of it. Can't wait to wear the rain gear when I need it. The problem is in Ohio, you may have jumped straight from no coat to winter coat.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel like a wind light jacket situation today. We'll see what happens, but go check it out. Really beautiful stuff. Use promo code all caps BOBBY at checkout for free expedited shipping. Christmas time will be here before you know it, folks. So go get some great stuff. It looks good. It feels better. BCKRbacker.com. Go check them out. We got headlines. The Bobby Carpenter Show coming up next.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lakespur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
Lakespur Marketing, they'll use their 100-year-plus years of combined experience to choose the marketing strategies and tools and products that are going to be right for your business. They're going to shield you from the cold callers, the folks that want to come out and try to pitch you the latest and greatest on new products. Leave the marketing to them, and their tried and true methods will help you do what you do best, which is run your business. Their marketing eliminates waste and gets the most out of your budget. Trust the experts. Trust Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in their partners. Visit them online at lakespurmarketing.com. All right, Schleiks. Julian's saying, what you saying?
Just saying, bro.
I'm just saying. He's been looking really good, man. In the stats during this Minnesota game, and I understand part and parcel a little bit from and what he's been able to do. But you'd look at completion percentage, Pat. We can throw that up here. Unbelievable. Looks good throwing deep balls. What I like Schlegels is his pocket presence continues to improve. You're looking at a younger guy who's a good athlete, starting to roll a little bit, but 85% completion percentage, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Wow. Yeah.
Against the team that's Minnesota's pretty good. Like, they'll probably be an 8-win football team. And it looked like he was out there throwing routes on air.
Yep. Well, I mean, he just has I think Ryan Day alluded to it earlier. When you have your quarterback that is seeing exactly what you're seeing and they're able to discuss on the sideline and talk about, you know, what are we thinking down the road? What are the things that we're trying to set up? And have that dialogue. Bob, we didn't have it so much. It's like, hey, what are you seeing out there? We're seeing this. All right, cool. I'm seeing that. Well, what do you want to do? Don't worry about it. Just run the play. That was kind of ours, right? But
Vic would ask us a little bit, and as we get older, they want to know. But it's like, hey, where are they trying to hit where are they hitting the run game in? You can see they're trying to set this play action for this, you know. So you see a little bit like maybe we should try to run this play. Let's do blitz check. We'll blitz the back. We'll do this. Like, we're getting slides here and there. So there was a little bit, but Julian, his ability to understand, hey, this is the safeties. This is what they're working in their game, and like that communication with Ryan has become paramount. And for a young player, like, he's been incredibly mature. And what I'm impressed with Schlegels' his ability to move in the pocket now, starting to step up, and all of those different things like that, to me, has been the stuff that's really elevated him. And I think he's getting to that faster than what certainly I anticipated, but maybe even Ryan Day.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, Pat, throw that clip up. Here is my one takeaway from the entire game. I'm watching this. Go ahead. Hit play. Boom. Right? And there.
Right in his beak, Cotton.
That was, to me, what I wanted to see. Like, is he going to stay in the pocket, deliver it with somebody in his face, that toughness aspect? That's, to me, that was the step. We talked about it, like we saw it even CJ's last year, his senior year, is like, okay, I'm going to go get the first down. Like myself, I'm going to move the chains. Whatever is required for me to be able to go do that, I'm going to go do that. Right there, he saw it, saw Max Clare, boom, stepped up into the pocket, delivered it with somebody in his face, took the hit. That's what you want to see from a guy who started 5 games. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Not just that he has something about him. We know that he can deliver the football. That was probably the question. Because remember, coming out, it was like, hey, don't you want the guy, the Iron Butt? And this is nothing against Lincoln. It's like the Iron Buckeye, the toughness, a bigger, thicker guy. Because remember, we had Will. Will came in. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. He was 6'4", 245. Got him down to 235, 238. And then now you're going to Julian Satan, who's all of 6'1", 210.
Yeah.
And he'd stand in the pocket and take the hit.
Right in his beak, Cotton.
Right in his
Right
beak.
you know what he had? Nice little face mask sandwich right there.
Of the entire game.
Yeah. It was good. I loved it, man. Love to see it. Looked really good with everything. So I think you're watching the coming of age of a young quarterback, and it's been really fun to see. And my question was for him, the guy can make all the throws. You know, he's got a really good arm. Is it like some crazy Jamarcus Russell missile launcher? No, but you saw the accuracy in that. And you're watching a guy develop on the job at a place like Ohio State in delivering strikes. And when you can do that now under pressure, that's what begins to separate quarterbacks, is not just being able to do when it's a clean pocket, which he has a lot of, but that, like your point to that, Schlegel, when he has a guy in his face, stares down the barrel and delivers the bender to the tight end right there in the middle of the field for about a 25-yard gain, man, that means you got a guy who's not scared. And I'm telling you this, that play right there earns you the respect of your teammates.
Yes, it does.
Honestly, most times quarterbacks, they never get hit. They're always the guy, you know, this and that. You get all the girls, you get all the praise. Everybody loves you. That's why you get all that stuff, is when you can make those plays. And if you can't, then you're a little bit fraudulent. And so Julian, as a redshirt freshman, guy in his 5th start, was able to do that step up and deliver a big shot. Hell of a job by him. We got our tailgate talk coming up next.
Create it, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lakespur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
Oh boy, Schlegs, we get our tailgate talk. We answer your stuff, your questions in the chat here. It's pretty good.
Hey, this chat's been frothy. Hey, Bob, I want to start off with this because I got a plumber here. We're about ready to switch up my, what's it called, dishwasher. Okay, something happened to electrical. We gotta swap it out. So Andrew's asking this.
Any of your appliances work?
What's that?
None of the appliances worked.
No, all of them work except for my dishwasher decided to just take a crap on itself. So we've just been washing dishes. And I'm like, hey, this is how they did it, guys. That's why you got a big sink. And that's why they got Dawn. They got the scrub brush. Hey, everybody has to scrub their own dishes. I'm like, what are we talking about? I ain't no nursemaid. Anyways, question is this. Biggest concerns, fears, running backs, the depth. Bo Jackson looks really good. What happens if he's no longer there? Bob, I leave this to you.
Okay, so at the beginning of the season, it was more James Peoples with CJ Donaldson being the changeup and the short yardage guy. Well, then CJ kind of took control a little bit. Peoples maybe drifted down. Bo Jackson had his emergence. Then you saw Peoples have some really nice runs at the end of the game against Minnesota. Had some nice catches out there in action over the last couple of weeks. And so I think you've got three good guys. I'm not worried. Like if Bo gets hurt, you're still very capable. I think Bo is the most explosive out of everybody. And I know this, Carlos Lachlan, they're trying to figure out a way to kind of, figure out a young Isaiah West to get him in there. They've got plenty of depth at running back. I'm not overly concerned about that.
Hey, I got a follow-up on that, Bob. And the question is this. Does CJ have to be your short yard guy? I mean, this is me personally. I'm looking at Bo every single time. Like the dude hits the hole fast and violent, and he always seems to be falling over. I heard this in the chat multiple times. I'm asking you, do we have to have CJ in there as that? And also, side nugget, I saw James Peoples step up in the pocket and deliver some good blocks, and so did Bo. I was very impressed by their pass pro, but does CJ have to be your short yardage back? Question.
I don't think he has to. I think that Bo might take over that too. Who knows? We'll see what happens with it. But I think you might even see what CJ did initially when he was at West Virginia. He was kind of H-back, and they do some 21. You know how Ryan loves different personnel grouping. So it wouldn't even shock me. Like they started doing some of that 21 personnel that maybe you get him out in the route, get him catching some passes and doing some other things and give yourself even more versatility than maybe you already had. So pretty darn excited for that to potentially happen. All right, Schlegs, we're going to take another quick break. We're going to wrap up the show. You get your parting thoughts and side nugget from one Anthony Schlegel.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lakespur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lakespur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, Schlegs, finish up the show.
Hey, Pat, throw it up there, buddy. I just love this. I saw this on the Doomajig, okay, and side nugget, right? And this goes into use it whatever, right? Men, women. Find men who
grandpa?
What's that?
Is your grandpa?
It's not my grandpa. I saw it on the Twitter machine, and I'm like, this is definitely something that old Rigger Rod would say as well. I was talking about him last night. Say, hey, my dear boy, hey, find men who want to win, train with them, build with them, suffer with them, lone wolf stars, packs, eat. And that's kind of really what it is. Iron sharpens iron, the friction within the rooms. Like you're seeing guys' games elevated because every single week, like who's the starter? It's always has to be earned, but they train together, they build together, they suffer together. And that's why they're so engaged all the time. It's because of the friction throughout the 8 months of the year that then now you go into the season and we're all working to a common goal, locked in, do your job. And there was no greater play defensively than doing your job when Caleb Downs, great eye control, followed his guy on a leak out wheel route on the tight end. I'm just like, dude, we're playing at a high level because they trust each other to do their job. Cool.
That's right. That is the side nugget. That is the parting thought. Stay locked in here. We got tomorrow. It's Wednesday. Mr. AJ Hawk will be with us as we break down a little more of the game and preview next week's matchup with Illinois. Stay here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.